Hey, welcome to News Rocky. This is your host, Kevin, bringing it to you each and every day, Monday through Friday at 4 p.m., part of the Forward TV network. Listen, today we're going to hammer down on some of these comparisons. Obviously, this past week we had the inaugural event that took place with Joe Biden getting his fully sworn in, officially the president, the 46th president of the United States. We're going to compare those two events with Donald Trump and and we'll also talk a little bit about where we're going, some of the policy change that Joe Biden has put out in front as part of his executive orders. He signed probably more than 30 or 40 of those since he's taken office. A lot of this is the sort of, I guess it goes back to some of the campaign promises along the way. And we'll talk a little bit about that today. But let's get right down and dirty in the ring with News Rocky talking about the difference between Biden and Trump. And welcome back to the News Rocky Show, guys. Today we're going to break it down into a little bit of a comparison, but I think to set this sort of up for us and the viewers here, I want to go into a video, kind of just going back over the last year, some of the different silly things that were said by both candidates, then Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Kind of amazing that, in this country of, 350 million folks plus that live here, that these are the two best guys we could have. Now, I'm not giving up on Trump, so don't go screaming and yelling. But at the end of the day, I had a conversation with the production team earlier today, and we were kind of talking about, wouldn't we all just be happy if we just could have some real, honest common sense in Washington, D.C.? Unfortunately, what happened during this election, we had two choices, and the choices were made. Donald Trump was not elected. They were not able to prove anything of the claims of fraudulent voting throughout the country. All these claims seem to have been debunked. I'm still a Trump supporter and still think he was the better choice. Joe Biden is our president. So we're going to queue up here for you folks to kind of intro into the show. We're going to listen to a little bit of what we'll call the fun moments over the last year of Donald Trump and Joe Biden.
Namaste. Namaste.
It's not just Shark Week, it's Shark Week.
I hope you're all going to join me. I'd like to put you in the rocket and get rid of you for a while.
And then I see the disinfectant.
I said to my people, slow the testing down.
Is there a way we can do something like that by injection?
I wanted to always play it down.
Something he allegedly told Bob Woodward.
It's on tape.
I'm not a doctor, but I'm like a person that has a good you-know-what. I was never involved in a model, at least this kind of a model.
I tested positively toward negative.
His, shall we say, weight group, morbidly obese.
It's a song called Despacito.
If you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
All men and women created by you know the thing.
This is my little sister, Valerie, and I'm Jill's husband. Let's not postpone and get out of the rain.
The president does read.
Person, woman, man, camera, TV. They say, that's amazing. How did you do that?
It's not the hardest task. The picture and it says, what's that? And it's an elephant.
What metrics you will use to make that decision?
The metrics right here.
Did you ever go to the faucet? You turn on the faucet to wash your hands, and then dunk, dunk. I'm actually, I guess, the chief law enforcement officer of the country.
We've had a lot of very good results, and we had some results that perhaps aren't so good. I don't know. Our opinion and our very intelligent opinion, rather quickly, maybe very quickly, and maybe slowly. Smart people know it. Stupid people may not know it. The numbers should skyrocket downward. The whole concept of the beach, it's a very interesting issue. It's a will man it and woman it.
President Xi and the Chinese Communist...
This corrupt, and really it's like corrupt.
Swoop in, you know that sweeping tropical storm. Isis, totalitarianism, tolerate, fresh vegetables, fatalities, Yosemite, plasma, pollute, Ulysses S. Grant,
Shifting production to Thailand.
through phone, through telephone, telephonically, as they say.
Watch television. See what people are saying.
We're the home of Microsoft and Silicon Valley and Microsoft.
Excuse me. You know, you're supposed to cough into your elbow.
We are fighting Satan himself.
No matter how hard you're working, there's always time to call mom.
Have you been watching television?
It is like rantings in crayon by somebody having an LSD trip. It's like they're coddling a 5-year-old whose pet turtle died.
Like an obese turtle on his back.
Without TiVo, television is useless.
And I've been to France. It's beautiful. Croissant.
How much longer is this going to go on?
Enter your browser, enter Washington Post TikTok guy.
Are you watching? I want football. Once it was reluctantly aroused. It was hard to get it aroused, and it is hard to get it aroused, but we got it aroused.
You can kick their balls, but you can't touch them.
The boyfriend is very nice.
Racing dolls. Hairy ass crack.
I don't talk about my ass.
You could be short. Why should he get a box to stand on?
Why?
I take full responsibility.
We had somebody apply for unemployment for Tupac Shakur here in Kentucky. We have a Kentuckian whose name is Tupac Shakur.
Will you shut up, man?
Listen,
Just want to say hi, Bernie.
Yeah, good.
I don't know if you remember about 15 years ago when one of your jet skis got sunk. That was me and one of my kids. I figured I'd fess up to it now.
No! Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking. I'm speaking.
This happens with Senator Rand all the time.
Congressman Congressman Louis Gohmert.
What happened? What did I do? Ay.
Is that your Bible?
Hey, Bob.
I've gone down for inspection.
It's bullshit.
Can follow the guidelines.
Around.
Bullshit.
Son of a b****.
You just call me
You're acting like one.
I kicked everybody's ass. Excuse me.
You changed attorneys.
I fired him in jail.
Michael.
You know, we're all playing a very complicated game of chess or poker, but it's not checkers.
How do you unify the...
That's wet.
Victory, 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 victory.
How many fingers do I got up?
A single witness.
Doing ballots like this.
They want to take your Second Amendment away. You have nobody guarding your potatoes.
Suburban women, will you please like me?
Bikers for Trump. A lot of tattoos. I love them.
You feel you've got the momentum?
Oh, there's no doubt about it.
Mommy, take me home.
The Biden crime family steal this election.
Don't ever talk to the president that way.
Where were we?
The best is yet to come.
Uh-oh. I got a pen mark. No. What's your problem?
I like to obey the law.
I cannot tell a lie. This man is crazy. People don't want that. They like a person like me that's not mean. Okay, I'll see you guys.
We're gonna hold here for a minute. Y'all go ahead.
Thank you, everybody.
So we had a chance to watch this video today, open up the show and the News Rocky show. And you know, look, I already said it. I've said it many times. I obviously clearly voted for Donald Trump. I support him in this last election. I certainly understand, though, our democracy and its greatness is flawed. And I also do know this, that the control party politicians in Washington, D.C., and I'm not talking about Democrats, I'm talking about across the board, the folks that have been down there. In fact, at the obviously the inauguration, you saw that George W. Bush was there hanging out. It seems like him and Michelle Obama. I'm not trying to start a News Rocky sort of National Enquirer show here, but it looks like those two might have a little bit of a behind-the-scene relationship going on. They get along really well. It's the Insiders Club. Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton. We can go down the list of all of them. The senators. Look at, recently Senator McConnell comes right out and now is blaming Donald Trump. Blaming Donald Trump when last week he was defending Donald Trump. But let's face it, guys. Mitch McConnell and the rest of these people, they're from Washington, D.C. You see, here's what happens when you become a senator or a congressman and you go to Washington, D.C. And in many cases, when you become a president or an appointee under an administration, you learn exactly day one, exactly how you succeed. You get in line. You get in line and you play the game. You get out in front of a camera and you give sound bites. Why do you think Donald Trump is not back there today? It's not because the Democrats beat him. It's because the Republicans beat him. The Republicans beat him this year. There was Republicans across the country that did not support Donald Trump. Under somebody like, think about it. Now, if you think that Mitt Romney is the face of the Republican Party, you're sadly mistaken. He is not a Republican. He has taken advantage of that, obviously, that position to run for positions like in governor of Massachusetts, like how he is now a senator, but also a failed candidate running for president. You see, we have this two-party system that has really uniquely sort of mend together. There's a lot more of the conservative insiders that support this kind of control under the Biden administration. And listen, folks, I'm not going to get into the debate about whether or not I think Joe Biden is the perfect candidate. It doesn't matter. Because through our democracy, through our democratic process, he was elected. I call him my president. Some of you folks out there, you get constant hate mail, right? I get in my inbox constantly telling me, you're wrong. You're supposed to be a conservative Republican. Well, I am. Don't tell me I'm wrong because I told you that this guy is my president. Doesn't mean I like his policy. We're going to get into his policy. We're going to get into the difference between him and Donald Trump. But what we need to do is wrap our head around one thing. I want you guys to pay attention. And I'm not going to often do this on News Rocky, but I'm going to suggest that you do it over the next 2 weeks. I want you to put on the national corporate media. I want you to listen to what they're talking about. Because over the last maybe 3, 4, 5 days, 6 days, it has seemed like there has been a love affair. Not one issue with Joe Biden from the national corporate media. Not one issue with the exception of Fox News. And quite honestly, it's as skewed on both sides of the subject. Why is it that there is such a love affair? And actually, if you watched during Donald Trump's exit out of Washington, D.C., it was almost euphoria. There was tears on some of these different media outlets. They were crying in joy. If that doesn't tell you what happened to Donald Trump and why he lost, then you're living with your head in the sand. See, when he kicked in those revolving doors down there and said, this is the swamp and we are the deplorables, we're coming to take over, to fight for America, to make America great again. It offended people. Are you offended when I say make America great again? Does that offend you? Ask yourself why it offends you. If we love the same country, but we disagree on how it's supposed to be run, can't we ultimately at the end of the day come together? Just come together as one America? See, we had a chance to do that. And Donald Trump, terrible delivery. Terrible delivery. In fact, let's talk a little bit about the delivery and the difference in this this newest president's Joe Biden, the 46th, getting sworn in and going through the whole inaugural process. There's some comparisons we want to talk about here on News Rocky, kind of dive into what the differences are. And in a lot of ways, folks, you guys listening to News Rocky, most of you guys are paying attention to what's going on out there in the political world. You know, when you compare the notes, there's a lot more in common between what Joe Biden said in his getting sworn in process to when Donald Trump was sworn in his speech. Very similar comments were said. Just a little tweak on each one of those statements can make the difference. And actually, that's exactly what we call fake news in the corporate media's eyes. See, they are able to take and extract a story, change it just a tad, and it becomes fake for that narrative. But the other folks that might be reporting the inclusive, everything, all the parts of the story, doesn't seem so fake. But that's what we deal with corporate media. Not on News Rocky, coming to you each and every day, Monday through Friday. You're going to get the facts. You're going to get my opinion. And sometimes I might be wrong, guys. And you know what you do? Call me on it. We'll straighten it out. But at the end of the day, I'm just a guy sitting here trying to talk to you, the American people, the people that actually make the difference and the ones that get lied to each and every day by every politician across the board. Now, look, I like a lot of politicians. This is a show that's going to include politicians on our conversation. I'm not trying to not allow that conversation, but I'm talking on the national front. The national political scene is so corrupt with insider trading, it should be taken down. Donald Trump was the closest person to doing that. So let's jump into it here. The presidential inauguration was a different, in many, many ways, from 4 years earlier. And why? It was the lack of a big crowd. Obviously, with COVID, folks, they were not able to, Joe Biden, to push in the big crowds. Quite frankly, if you paid attention at this whole process, days before this event, they trooped in about 25,000 National Guard troops, and 25 miles of perimeter was put into Washington, D.C. Many reports of layers and layers, almost something out of a concept of a L.A. Hollywood-based movie, something that spooked a lot of people out. But it shut the city down and was secure without incident. Now, what's some of the differences from this different process of the inauguration? COVID, limited people in attendance. Also, the fact that Donald Trump did not attend. Very much a historical event. I think it was probably about 100 plus years ago, the last president who decided to not go to the transition event that takes place in this inauguration process. This is part of the history of this country, and I'm going to come out here and say this. Right, wrong, or indifferent, and I know that Donald Trump was not happy with the way he was treated, but quite honestly, President Trump, former President Trump, you asked for that kind of treatment and the way that you treated other people. I support that, and I'm all with you. But I've been in those similar situations as a former political public servant as a state representative and a first selectman, which is like a mayor for you folks that are out there that don't understand. And when you're in those positions, you have to step out in front. You got to go in front of a crowd of people that might not like and love you. You got to talk to them the same way you talk to your supporters. And I think Donald Trump did himself not a service by not showing up to this inauguration process and paying the due respect to the democracy. I understand why, and I know a lot of you folks are listening. I know you're going to start complaining. You're going to start throwing me messages up here on the board, and I want to hear what you have to say. This is my opinion. I think Donald Trump, the president of the 45th, had a chance. He should have been at this event, and he should have respected democracy at hand. You know, at the end of the day, look, if you can't win in the ballot box and you can't win on appeal, you need to experience one thing. It's humility. And I hope that President Trump was able to get that, because if he did, he's going to realize how he can unite this country. The 75 million and growing people who voted for him, I think it's over 75 million personally, are ready to rally around the next opportunity to take back their country. And it's going to happen. We're going to get into what that really means on taking back your country towards the end of this show. On the News Rocky Show, we're going to continue to talk today about this comparison of Joe Biden and Donald Trump and their inauguration. And when you think about it, the COVID issue, as we covered, was sort of making things different. The military being present throughout the 25-mile radius, very, very much different. The fact that Joe Biden actually has been down this alley, this runway before as the vice president, very similar for him. It's sort of, it's easy peasy. He knows his way down the Pennsylvania Ave, how to march right over and get into this event, running down the street, talking to some of the reporters, shaking hands. Actually, I think there was a reporter that shook his hand when he first got elected as vice president and did the same thing this year as he was entering as president of the United States. Kind of a cool story there. I want to tell you that when you compare Joe Biden in comparison to Donald Trump, some of the things that they talked about in this speech that Joe Biden gave, he alluded to his address and saying that near the beginning of his speech that a new America has risen to protect American democracy. And I want you folks to think about those, I think words are chosen very purposely, not just when we have conversations with each other in big business across the board, but most importantly, when press releases come out from public officials, or there's something with the media involved, or something that's going to be covered like this event. Those words are particular. They're for a reason. And when you say America has risen to protect the American democracy, the challenge there is that the democracy that we have and love has been challenged by the previous administration. Let me fill in the cracks. He is accusing Donald Trump of destroying the democracy. I find that to be ironic, because the very democracy for which we have all enjoyed for many, many years, the First Amendment right, for example, Joe Biden, his corporate media friends, they denied the president his democracy. They denied the American people their democracy and their First Amendment rights. But yet in his own speech, he comes out and criticizes that is one of the challenges he is excited about taking on. Let's see, at the little over 21 minutes, and that's how long this speech was. I guess if you don't have a huge audience, there's no sense to keep talking. There was 5 minutes longer than the predecessor, former Donald Trump. So he's 5 minutes longer than Donald Trump. Donald Trump likes to get in and get out. That's his kind of style. Say it like it is and get in and get out. We heard in that opening video some of Donald Trump's silliest comments. And, when you think about Donald Trump, when he would get in front of a microphone, you just never knew what he was going to say. I mean, we were, and the media loved and gobbled that up. Joe Biden's very similar in that fashion. And you think, sometimes he's trying to say something in his message, just like in the video, he gets jumbled up. And guess what? News Rocky, you're going to hear me mess a word up here and there. It happens. I let the producers pick on me. It's okay. I am who I am. We're human, and it's okay. But, think about how people were so offended by Donald Trump and his aggressive, abrasive ways. If you saw in that video, there was many examples, and we probably could pull up hundreds of examples where Joe Biden is almost challenging people to a fist fight. But yet the people who criticize Donald Trump, he's a bully. He's an antagonist. He's the troublemaker. He's inspiring this anarchy across the country. Same attitudes coming from the folks on the other side. You hear the double talk that took place, and actually not during the inaugural event yesterday or a few days ago, but during the process of him, meaning now President Biden coming into office, he was talking and he said, look, my administration's been warned. You talk rude or crude or disrespectful to anyone, you're fired on the spot. You see, but he played that same game along the way, the same way Donald Trump did. But for some reason, corporate media gave him a pass. Kind of interesting, isn't it? Guys, you know, not trying to make it up because you can't. It's all out there. You can call it fake news. You can pull up video or audio reality, and you can see it. There's a lot of examples of what I'm talking about. And so let's talk about, during Trump's address, it was a time for him to really lay in during the Trump inaugural event about the grievances of the American people. And he considered himself unheard. These people who were considered, even like Donald Trump, recognized himself as part of that unheard. If you remember, the deplorables was labeled by his then opponent, Hillary Clinton. This group of people in this country who felt like, well, no one's hearing my voice. This is what Donald Trump took to the podium that day for his swearing-in ceremony in comparison to the inspirational, as being quoted by the corporate media, speech of Joe Biden. Donald Trump talked about taking back America, making America great again, bringing jobs back to America, making America the place where people are proud to live because our military is strong, our law enforcement is supported, and at the end of the day, the economy is building back to where it once was. Donald Trump said that. And quite honestly, folks, up until the COVID situation that took place in early January of 2020, we had an incredible 3-year run under Donald Trump. The economy was booming. Gas prices plummeted. His involvement in the Middle East was untouched by any other president. He was able to stay out of every conflict, including North Korea. He was able to manipulate this guy who basically they're just cuckoos over there, and he was able to manipulate him into never having to hear any more about him. Yet Donald Trump didn't get the credit, and Joe Biden now is talking about how he's going to fix this democracy. He's going to bring it back for the American people. The American people during Donald Trump's 4 years, they were fighting amongst each other, not inspired, I think, by the differences of opinion, but inspired by the corporate media who continued to tell falsehood after falsehood. Now listen, Donald Trump gave enough evidence, enough ammunition rather, to the corporate media each and every day by his sound bites. I get it. But it wasn't factual. It was presented in a way that was misleading. The corporate media, they play that very, very well. I wonder how they're going to treat Joe Biden in this administration going forward. It seems as if they're already offering ice cream, pops and soda pop at every one of these press releases. It's going to be just a beautiful world. The world's going to get fixed. Of course, if you are a white male, you need to be warned because you have been already by this administration. White males, be warned. We're coming after you. We won't tolerate any of that nonsense. If you are someone that has a difference of opinion, in fact, Kamala Harris herself has come right out and said, look, if for example, Lindsey Graham, who is a strong Republican senator, is going to have to work with Kamala Harris as she sits and presides over the Senate. She is going to engage and act with them. And she's already said, I will not deal with this individual until he goes full in and apologizes and relieves himself of agreeing what took place. These are the threats that are taking place now in Washington, D.C. by this newest administration. So in this inaugural event, we also had some other differences. And some of the opening lines I find to be interesting was that we, the citizens of America, are now joined in a great national effort to rebuild our country and to restore promise for all our people. Together we determine the course of America and the world of the years to come. Who do you think said that? Type it up there, guys. I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to read the next one. It's a little game we're going to play. I want you to guess exactly who do you think said that. That was pretty well put. I got to be honest with you. You sound very presidential. Sounded very good, like a career politician could have said it. I'm not giving you any hints. Let's read the next one. In comparison, this is America's day. This is democracy's day. A day of history and hope, of renewal and resolve through a crucial time in the ages of this country, America has been tested anew, and America has risen to the challenge. Now, who do you think that was? I want you to tell me. Come on, roll them up there. Okay. Yep. Trump was the first one. We, the citizens of America. You know, we, the citizens of America, is simply just this. Let's break this down in this comparison. Now, I'm not like an expert in these areas, but I am an expert in communication because I survived on communication from the prison system. More importantly, I survived without punching some other politician in the jaw from my time serving here in the Capitol in Connecticut and, so, you know, locally. Because when you hear politicians talk, their arrogance sometimes can get to you. What Trump is saying here, in my opinion, we, the citizens of America, in comparison to this is America's day. You probably say, Kevin, there's not much difference. You see, no, what Donald Trump was really skillful at, and what Joe Biden will never be able to handle, is the ability to connect to the disenchanted, the disconnected, the people who are out there who are uneducated, maybe in some ways with politics, but have found themselves unbelievably interested because of the current events that have taken place over the last 12 years. You see, when you look at America, you think about, has this just happened? Has Trump just, you know, it's just in a 5-year window that Trump's been here? You got to understand, guys, Trump has been here forever. Maybe it wasn't Donald Trump. Donald Trump didn't invent racism. You know who exploited racism, in my opinion, over the last year of 2021? Excuse me, in 2020 into 2021? The corporate media and the Democrats. They exposed this racial divide, which is real and needs to be dealt with. They exposed it for their own take. They exposed it so they could use it as ammunition against a party and a politician. And they did it unbelievably well. Now, Donald Trump and many of his supporters, some say myself included, really didn't know how to handle that narrative sometimes in the best way. Because when you get confronted with racism, sometimes the first thing is, I'm not a racist. Listen, whenever somebody says you're a racist and you have to feel like you have to say, I'm not a racist, especially this one, guys. If you say, I'm not a racist because I got a black friend, you got some issues to deal with, okay? That's just my 2 cents from News Rocky. I don't give too many things out, but I want to give you that. So when we hear this from the national corporate media, they're really taking their energy out of Donald Trump's sound bites, and they're trying to project that onto us, the citizens, who did think Donald Trump was a good president. You know, a good president doesn't mean a great human. Do you think every president that served in this country was a great human? You don't think they did evil, bad things? We probably can go through a list of terrible things that presidents have done. And in fact, Joe Biden has 48 years of a career, of fingerprints. And we're going to be talking to somebody from the overseas that actually experienced some war at the hands of Joe Biden. We're working on a really special show. That's going to be one of our Get in the Ring shows where we bring in someone from a war-ridden community, a country that Joe Biden at the time back in the 90s was sitting on committees that officially allowed the destruction and the killing and murder of many people in this scenario that I'm talking about. We look forward to bringing that up. But this is just part of the narrative, folks. We're talking about Joe Biden, his inaugural event in comparison to Donald Trump's. And a lot of these topics were very, very easily to be compared. There weren't a lot of differences when it comes to some of these subjects. Joe Biden himself, you know, Biden spoke respectfully about the pandemic, warning that the U.S. is entering what may be the toughest and deadliest period of the virus. Now, Trump obviously had no inkling of the COVID-19 crisis. This is what this article is saying when he gave his speech, and that is obviously true. That was obviously a long time before. But he did still mention health, saying the U.S. was ready to free Earth from its miseries of disease. You know, so the misery of disease is exactly what this article is indicating, is this disease did not come from Earth. It came from the Wuhan, China flu, as Donald Trump said, China flu. It came here because it was man-made, man-manipulated, and delivered purposely from China to destroy not just the economy of the world and the economy of the United States of America, not just to take on the challenges of trying to be the strongest country in the world, as they've said by 2035 they will. This was an attempt to actually talk about collusion and involvement in a campaign. China disrupted this campaign by exposing COVID to this country and the world in the most evilest way. And I wish that someone had the balls to go after China, call them on it, and destroy them on it each and every day. Because you know what? They did this on purpose, and they'll continue to do it because we, the weak American people, will allow it. Some are saying right now Joe Biden indicated in many of the speeches since he's been elected and since been obviously now sworn in, has still stayed the same task. I'm going to get tough on China, but I'm going to talk to him. He's not going to get tough on China, folks. He spent many of days in China. And we know that Hunter Biden obviously was in China as well. There's a lot of speculation of that. But let's face it, do you want to live in a world, in a country where we're controlled by people far, far away that make decisions about our finances, our health care, and will have a direct line into the political leadership of this administration? For certain, that concerns me. This is where it comes down to. The COVID situation with Joe Biden, he's talking about 100 days of not purposely lockdown, but heightening the requirements, masks being worn in all federal locations across the country, masks being worn and recommending to states and locals to enforce it by issuing citations if people don't follow the rules. 100 days. They want to basically mask up this entire country. Now, we brought up on a previous show, some of the numbers are dropping. Some of those numbers are going down, and we see that out there across the board that COVID has reached its high peaks in some areas and has started to nosedive. Those numbers are indicating to us here on News Rocky and across the board, those corporate media thugs that talk each and every day as well, that these numbers are starting to drop, which are really impressive in a lot of ways. Most people are saying that this could actually get better faster than not. Let's face it, guys. The birds are chirping and the sun has risen. The people of America can rise up again and take your mask off because Joe Biden has arrived to Washington, D.C. You will see Joe Biden will be out in front of the podium in the Rose Garden, I say sometime around April or May. He will make a quick speech that the numbers have dropped so that it's time for America to get back to work. Let's open up those mom and pop shops. Let's get you back to work because you, the people of America, you're the backbone. I will promise you that's coming really soon to a theater towards you, near you. Look, this is all part of the political theater that we're going to see over the next 4 years. And Donald Trump played political theater. I mean, we saw in that opening video some of the things he talked about, and he spoke out in front of crowds. And no presidential candidate, no elected official has ever been able to do what Donald Trump did with his I would call it almost like a rock tour atmosphere. He gets people fired up. It's amazing. You know, someday we'll just bring up some of his best clips from his rallies that he traveled across the country. And he would fill these things, man. He would have them fill with people, across the board. And some people will say, well, there's your spread of coronavirus, blah, blah, blah. You know, the numbers for the tracking of these events were almost not negative. They didn't appear. You know, coronavirus is real. I don't want anyone to think that I'm saying not. I understand that Joe Biden's got to make it part of his policy, part of his process going into office here. You can't walk away or run away from coronavirus. It's real. Obviously, he's going to reappoint Fauci. Fauci's going to continue to do what he does and not only just really design these diseases as he does in his lab, but also create the vaccinations that he also does in his lab, and he gets paid very well for. I believe if you look at it, each and every one of these vaccinations in some way, somehow has a signature of Fauci on it. And what that means is Fauci is an independent profiteer off of these process. You can look at it, guys. You want to call it a conspiracy theory, you can all day. But I'm telling you right now, Fauci has been making a lot of money off of disease in this country. He'll continue to do that. Joe Biden is going to also focus on a couple other issues. And he says that obviously race is one of his biggest issues. I want to delve into this race issue and the comparison to race with Donald Trump, who did not mention it, Donald Trump, in his speech, in his inaugural speech back in 2016. America, fuck yeah. That's a little cup there, thank you. Anyways, so Donald Trump didn't mention anything about that, or perhaps in any of the speeches leading up, he made very few speeches. You know, Donald Trump has lived and kind of marched to the beat of, I know racism is real, but I ignore what you're saying and calling me or other people because I know I'm not. See, that's the response that I kind of told you in the beginning is right. When someone tells you you're a racist, you shouldn't be. When Mike Wallace on the Fox News debate is demanding Donald Trump to denounce and say poor boys, and this one, by the way, the poor boys run by all Latino Americans. Kind of amazing that they wanted Donald Trump so desperately to ignore them or denounce them. And also you get Mike Wallace, this reporter from Fox News, who's hammering Donald Trump, basically calling him a racist. He'd already answered the question, man. It's part of the political-driven narrative from corporate media, and it's sick, and it's hopefully going to end someday. It's going to end now because Joe Biden, he's just a fan favorite. See, Joe Biden is going to, people were almost crying reporting of this event. If you go back a few days, check it out. You'll see the reporters, man. It is actually some pretty funny stuff. He's going to take on race. He's going to take on the challenges of race. In race, and in an episode that's coming up really soon here, we're going to be talking about the defunding of the police. A lot of this ties in together. Today, we're going to stay on topic with just some of the comparisons with Trump and Biden and their administration, their inaugural event, and comparing some of the words that were used. But we'll get into that other topic another time, another show, talking about defunding the police. Joe Biden actually committed to saying this, and he was on audio to the Democratic leadership, that we got our asses kicked on the topic of defunding the police by the Republicans this year. He actually said that, and he made it very clear that you can't have that messaging. You see, the problem is when he's so aware that the messaging affected votes, and he's so aware and keen on the fact that you can change the messaging, tweak it just a bit, but still get the same objective, is proof in the pudding of a scumbag politician. Someone that plays to the narrative and knows how the narrative should be written. Joe Biden has been writing narratives for a very long time. Donald Trump has only written 4 years of narratives, 4 years in office. And he, I believe, has had the most dominating impact on any president that's ever sat in the Oval Office. We'll see what Joe Biden can do. In the comparison to this event and the opening lines, let's go through some more of this. Let's see, on their predecessors, let's see who said this. So put your notes together, follow along, and please type up who you think said this statement on their predecessors. I thank my predecessor of both parties for their presence here today. I thank them from the bottom of my heart, and I know the resilience, whoa, that was a tough one, of our Constitution and the strength of our nation, as does presidents. And so he was talking about Carter, who he had spoken to. He was talking about Barack Obama. He's talking about Bill Clinton. And he was talking about George W. Bush, the only Republican candidate there out of that group. There's one other Republican candidate that was missing. The Republican not candidate, but former president, rather, was Donald J. Trump. Donald J. Trump, I'll say it again, made a major mistake. He should have been in attendance. He should have been there. You see, you can't talk about smacking someone in the face with facts, not figuratively. You can't talk about kicking the door in and taking the swamp bag. You got to go back in their faces, even if you lose, and be humble. Now, I know the event that he left on was pretty amazing. Got the chance to see the whole family fly out. I give them all the credit in the world. I think it's an amazing family that's got a long future of serving publicly in many ways to the American people. But I think Donald Trump should have been there. He should have sat there that day. But unfortunately, he didn't. That doesn't make him a terrible guy, but it does make him somewhat of a flawed exiting president. Joe Biden. I thank my predecessors. Well, I already said that. This is the Trump. We are grateful to President Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama for their gracious aid throughout the transition. They have been magnificent. So Donald Trump actually gave credit to Obama, one of his favorite people to beat up during his campaign with Hillary Clinton. He was brilliant. And guys, if you ever run for office, give me a call. I'll give you some great advice. The best thing to beat a candidate is first of all, if someone's humanized, you don't go after them. What you do is you go after the bad policies and their attachment to other people. And a lot of times that's a very useful tool. Donald Trump knows that survival skill using his ability to communicate very, very well. He did a masterful job at that. So Donald Trump had a very distinct respect at that moment for Barack Obama. And I think that told me that, first of all, Barack Obama was in attendance. And so wasn't Joe Biden. Donald Trump was pretty, he was gloating. He was excited. He had felt the energy of the American people, that he was committed to coming into the scene and taking over Washington, D.C. and taking it back for the American people. And he did it. He did it in ways that I think were obvious and we won't hear about. They won't trend. They won't be acknowledged by corporate media. It's going to take a long time and period before the people that want to look at history to verify all the good things that Donald Trump was able to do. On some of the other issues of the day that we can compare during this inaugural event, Trump also said that what truly matters is not which party controls our government, but whether our government is controlled by the people. Let me ask you something. That's a really cool statement. And actually, I know I heard it before because I know I read his speech, but that really makes something, it makes a lot of sense to me. Does it sound like it makes sense to you? Because when you think about it, Donald Trump is saying he understood his pathway was not to go to the traditional, I'm going to run for office, I need the support of the delegates, I need the support of that. He got the American people involved. Got the American people involved. And I think in a way that was almost eye-opening for some. Most of the people I know who actually supported Donald Trump, most of the people in this district who were really, really loud about it, never even voted before Donald Trump. They just found this vehicle with this guy who they're attracted to. What's that mean about Biden? You know, the traditional Democrats and a lot of folks who were sort of on the fence about Donald Trump, they supported Joe Biden this election. They supported Joe Biden because he was the lesser of two evils. Have you heard that one, guys? Joe, you had to vote with Joe Biden because he was the lesser of two evils. I don't know what voice that was. I just made it up, but it's my voice. Listen, Joe Biden was able to get elected, and some question the amount of votes. We saw in that clip, you had Rudy Giuliani, creepy, as creepy as he looks. He's a masterful showmanship, New York former mayor, prosecutor, just really, really legal scholar. He handled the re-election campaign and obviously the campaign in itself to go out and overturn these votes. Obviously, it didn't happen. It didn't fail. Some people are still speculating. I'm not going to get into the tin hat area here. I don't want to, put the tinfoil on the head here thing. But there's people out there, it's still the bombshell's coming. The bombshell's coming. I will agree with this, though, News Rocky listeners. I'm going to say this. Joe Biden made a very strong comment, and his comment was echoed by his administration, at least through the press secretary, some of the other folks, that they hope that the Senate gets back to work, and they, under Joe Biden, hope that they continue and they work hard at the impeachment process of Donald Trump. We're going to get into this as a separate show down the road. I want to this is a lot to go over because this is talking about historical facts. It's talking about a constitution. It's talking about unprecedented achievements here that have no gauge, whether or not they're legal or not. There's legal scholars on both sides that say if they pursue this impeachment through the Senate after he has left office, meaning Donald J. Trump, that this could appear as an illegal lynching of him. And so folks are concerned that maybe that is not the right way to go. Did I just use the word lynching? I think I did. You know what? It's a word, and I'm not saying it in a bad way, so if you're offended by it, I'm sorry, but it is illegal lynching. Anyways, moving on. Hey, Donald Trump brought that attention to himself, and I get that, but at the end of the day, we have to figure that this is going to happen one way or another. There's going to be a showdown. I'm going to tell you on this note, and I'm sort of here, News Rocky, bringing you my recap of the differences between these two candidates in their first 14 days entering the White House. It's different than the campaign trail. And even after you win the election, there's a lot of changes. You become the president. You not only get the keys to the castle and you get the ability to speak on behalf of the entire United States of America and its people, you get the responsibility of protecting us each and every day. One of the things that Joe Biden was able to comment on is he was going to take on all these domestic terrorists, was the word he used in his speech. Domestic terrorists in his speech. And the fact that he was alluding to Donald Trump and supporters of Donald Trump, and the fact that they're trying to say that this false and really I would say, the process for this impeachment that took place, guys, do you believe it took place in the right way? Do you think a week trial, 1 week, to have an impeachment trial of a sitting president for facts that cannot be proven, rather than just being speculated by the speaker, Nancy Pelosi? Nancy Pelosi. You pull a picture of Nancy up if you could at some point. Nancy Pelosi is a really interesting Speaker of the House. I'm not really putting her in the narrative today, but I want to pull a picture. She inspires me to just think different ways. I don't know. Do you think Nancy Pelosi was hot back in the day? I don't know. What do you guys think? You think she was kind of hot back in the day? I think she was probably an attractive woman when she showed up to Washington, D.C. I'm sure that she made a lot of folks pay attention to her, and that's great. Hey, there's a lot of hot guys, too. Mitt Romney's a good-looking man. Barack Obama was a handsome guy. There's a lot of hotness on both sides, so don't go attacking me for that nonsense. But my point about Nancy Pelosi is she was used as one of the hit men, so to speak, or hit women, for this Biden administration. Here's Nancy walking in that green dress. Look at that. You know, she's really an attractive older woman. I don't care what you say. She's about 80 years old, or 90, I don't know, she's 85 maybe, and she's attractive. I think she's lost her sort of wittiness, but long story short, that picture right there, I want you guys to remember this. That is a hitman. That is someone that can sneak in and assassinate you like that. That's the kind of power and control that lady has. There's no doubt that her vision of this country did not include someone like Donald Trump, and it doesn't include you if you voted for Donald Trump. You see, during the speech of Joe Biden, he said he was going to come after domestic terrorism. The very day that he was speaking, domestic terrorism was on its all-time high out in Portland. But yet, we didn't hear about that from the corporate media until after. We had to have a few days go by before we heard about it. But unfortunately, Joe Biden, I want to give you a little bit of advice. I want you to listen, sit down, okay? Look at my lips and read them. Joe Biden, today you are loved. Corporate media loves you today. But tomorrow, they need an agitator. They need an agitator. And this one right here, she's going to put you in the middle of agitation like you don't know. She's got a plan already, I'm telling you, thick as thieves, her and Kamala Harris and her, thick as thieves. Joe, you're going to get set up. You're going to leave office. But you're going to volunteer to leave, and you're going to be okay with it. You're going to be okay with it because you really know the secrets. Joe Biden made a threat in his speech. He's going to take on, I don't think a threat, he made a statement. But he threatened people. And through his statement, he threatened people. He threatened the people who supported Donald Trump. People who stood up and went and peacefully rallied at the Capitol. Not the evildoers and the scumbags that President Donald Trump denounced. Not the one who went in there and killed that police officer in the line of duty. And we'll get into that in a moment. Not the people who broke the doors down and created damage to property, our property, taxpayers' property. Arrest each and every one of them. You see, we had call-ins that day in that live event right here on the News Rocky Show, and we were talking to people that were talking about the energy, the positive energy. You remember, though, shortly after that, those events started taking place, the national corporate media, they were putting out there all the information about Donald Trump. How he had a speech before this obviously, this destructive behavior took place. And in his speech, if you listen to the entire speech, Donald Trump said peacefully. He said to the people there, don't go up and cause trouble. We don't need to do, that's not what we do. You see, but corporate media, they left that out of the narrative. Yet they're the same ones that point fingers at fake news each and every day. Don squeezing lemons. You squeeze nothing but lies each and every day to cater your own perspective, to stay party politics. Because you and your cousin Cuomo, that's all you got on CNN. A bunch of chump work. Taking bits and pieces. Taking shots. You know what you are? You're not media. You're not reporters. You're basically writers. And you're writing your own news based on similar facts in your perspective. You see, that is the problem. National corporate media has created this issue between all of us in this country. And what Donald Trump was able to do, is awaken people. And Joe Biden is calling you those people. the deplorables from Hillary Clinton. That title now is you are now you're bad people who are out to cause anarchy. You are terrorist, domestic terrorist. If you voted for Donald Trump, believe me, you'll hear this from the corporate media. Believe me, you'll hear from this administration. If you voted for Donald Trump and you're a supporter, you're a domestic terrorist. That's going to be the language to us. Joe, if you think this is the way to go, let me tell you something. You're marching down the wrong street. Because I'm telling you right now, 75 million and growing people don't want to hear that nonsense. We don't care if Donald Trump, quite frankly, goes back to run for office. It could be Dan Crimshaw. It could be any one of these strong American people. Maybe someone we haven't even met yet. Maybe someone that's out there, lurking in the dark, preparing themselves to get out in front of this whole subject. You see, Joe Biden, I want to tell you this. I want to wish you well. I want you to succeed, just like I did for Donald Trump. You see, but the same people out here to criticize me about my support for Donald Trump or Donald Trump, the president, you don't have that in your heart to do the same thing because you're the evildoers. You're the ones that push it each and every day. You see, on News Rocky, we want to take on these tough challenges. We want to talk about these tough subjects, but I'm going to offer my opinion because that's what I get paid to do. We hope you tune in each and every day, and I want to hear your opinion. So, guys, we're closing out the show today. We talked a lot about the comparison of Donald Trump, Joe Biden. At the end of the day, they were less than 30-minute speeches. At the end of the day, we heard a lot of the same rhetoric. At the end of the day, Joe Biden wants the sun to rise. At the end of the day, Donald Trump wanted the people to rise, and they did. And they did. Guys, thanks for tuning in to News Rocky here, Monday through Friday at 4 p.m., coming to you from this great studio, the Forward TV studio. I hope you guys enjoyed today's show. Please send me a message. If you have a show idea, you have some thoughts on topics, send them to us in the messenger. We'll let you know what we do. We'll see you tomorrow on News Rocky.